Welcome to another Gaz Right video and welcome to Machu Picchu, wonder of the world number 5 for me and one of the 7, located deep in Peru, in the Andes Mountains. It's an absolute unbelievable bit of kit. Me and the King have been exploring, meandering, and of course we're going to be taking you through all the best sites, all the little spots to take a few of the old JPEGs built back in the 15th century and became a UNESCO World Heritage Site back in 1983. It's gorgeous scenery. There is a little bit of climbing involved as well. Any questions, anything you want to know, bang it down in the comments. Whilst you're down there, hit that subscribe button. Still en route to 3K subs. Let's get cooking, baby. The first thing you're probably thinking is, Gaz, how the hell do I get to Machu Picchu? So it is a hell of a journey. First, you want to get to Cusco, or to myself, and then we came from Lake Titicaca, so we just got the bus. But most people, I imagine, you'd fly into Lima and then fly across. It's about an hour and a half flight from Lima, and the journey is still really long from Cusco. Really long. It's all your own personal perspective. We took Inca Rail. You have to get there about half an hour before you go. It's a 2-hour bus, stops halfway for a little toilet break. And then after that you change, and we were on the Voyager train. There's multiple different trains you get. There's a little bit of a show in the middle, a little bit gimmicky if you ask me, but the views are absolutely spectacular all along the valley front, all along the valley floor. And then you have all like the kind of the mountains in the backdrop. So beautiful train journey. You get a little beer wari on there, you get a little coffee in the system. However, for the train, the bus and then the train, it is going to set you back £115 return. The cheaper option, you can just get like the bus the whole way, I believe. My good friend, Mr. Joe Martin, if you want to check out some better travel content, Joe Martin Travel, go check him out. He got the bus back to save a little bit of the old cashish. But yeah, because I think £115, whew, taking a few prices off the UK. So you're going to basically get to Aguas Calientes, which you think, oh, I'm there. No, it's another 30-minute bus. They tell you to get whatever time you've booked Machu Picchu. We'll talk about tickets as well. Whatever time you've booked, you need to get there at least an hour before. And then me and Em just waited an hour this morning in a queue, get on a bus, another 30 minutes up to Machu Picchu, and then probably another 40-minute queue to get in. So the key tip, again, I'll review this as we go through the day, but I cannot see it being possible to do this in one day. Do you know what I mean? You have to get here half an hour before your bus in the morning. 4.5 hours journey up here. You've got a queue for an hour, and then you've got to get the bus from Aguas Calientes up to Machu Picchu in the entrance. So for me, I would heavily advise doing it over a couple of days. But for me, the highlight of the transport is, of course, the train. The train journey is absolutely top draw. I think that me and Em booked 7 AM to come in here in terms of like tickets and routes and stuff like that. So the first thing you need to book, I would say at least a month in advance. We booked 2 weeks in advance and we only had choice of one option, which was like the mountain route. We've got a little bit creative on that, as you well know on this channel. But if you want to do a certain thing, especially if you want to go into Machu Picchu, into the Citadel, into the city itself, you need to book, I would say 3 months in advance. About a month, 6 weeks in advance, you're probably going to get half the options, and then it's obviously less than a month. You're going to have limited option on the actual routes you can do. There's 12 different routes, and then you're going to have limited options on the times as well. So me and Em had one option, which is the mountain route, and one option on the time, which is 7 AM, which is absolutely fine. I think you're better going early in the morning. We got to Aguas Calientes yesterday afternoon, and it was absolutely Sergio Ramos. Honestly, you couldn't move around in there. And one thing I didn't mention before is we paid for the bus and the train to get to Aguas Calientes, but then from the bus from Aguas Calientes up to where we are now at Machu Picchu is another £18, $24 each. So do bear that in mind. It does stack up quite quickly. And on the topic of like prices and stuff like that, everything here I would say is a lot more expensive than Cusco. Goes without saying, it's a wonder of the world. It's an absolutely majestic view, but it is a lot more expensive. I would say everything is double in price. We paid £8 some soup yesterday. You're looking at like £3 for a bottle of water when it was like 50p at our shop in Cusco. So again, just some things I guess to bear in mind. The website you can book them off, there is only one website. I'll tag it down below as like the pinned comment. It is in Spanish, and me and Em, we tried to book it on both our laptops and it didn't work. So there's one bit of advice on that. It's 1, book in advance, and 2, make sure you do it on your phone. The amount of times it failed, got money in the account, stuff like that. So yeah, multiple failed attempts, and yeah, it would only work on the old laptop, apart from Inca Rail being absolutely extortionate. It's only £44, say only, depends what your budget is. It's £44 to come into Machu Picchu. So when you compare it, third of the price. I think that's pretty bloody good to get into a wonder of the world when the transport is so expensive. But again, yeah, the earlier you book, the better the ticket is you're going to get. The main viewpoint you want is the upper terrace or classic view. So when you're looking at the options, they're the two that I would personally say, I guess if you're following this channel, you're about your JPEGs, you're about your photos. They're the ones you want to go to get the best view of the city. And if you've not seen my pictures yet of Machu Picchu, it means one thing and one thing only. You do not follow me on the old Instagram, Gareth Wright 2. But if you do want a bit more like a panoramic view, go to the top of the mountain, beautiful views overlooking the whole of the Citadel and the mountains. You've got the mist coming up, you're in a cloud forest, of course. And then if you're into more your archaeology, your history, that side of stuff, then I would definitely go for the option. I think it's option 3. If it's not option 3, I'll overlay what option it is, but I'm 99% sure it is, where you go into the city, you can get a guide and they can kind of talk you through, do you know what I mean, the buildings, the brickwork. Actually, on the note of the brickwork, I've got a little fact for you, that all the bricks here, there's no mortar to hold it together. So the Incas knew 2 things. 1, how to get an absolutely unbelievably tasty viewpoint, but number 2, how to build a bloody flare little pad like this. But that's tickets, that's how we get here. Any questions on that, as always, bang it in the comments, and we're going to be checking back in for some ruthless feels, vibes, and you just know how we do. You've made your way from Aguas Calientes, you've got to the gates, another 30-minute queue, probably about a 15-minute queue to go for a wee. It's absolute pandemonium. You get in here, meandering up, there's different drop sections, different viewpoints. You've got the smoke, the clouds rising through the mountains, which are absolutely majestic in the old backdrop. Initial thoughts, Em?
You can't hate on a tourist when you are a tourist, but it's just a lot of queuing. Nobody enjoys queuing. But it's expected with somewhere like this. But strangely, it's not, like, now we're here, like, there's not that many people, but it's still busy, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I feel as if, like, there's only, like, it's one way, so it's a one-way system, and a lot of the tracks are, like, single file, so if you're behind somebody who's walking extremely slow, or a big tour group who are obviously having a bit of a guided trip, you will be slowed down. But let me give you a quick little spin and tour of what is going on. If I can turn the old camera around real quick, but like, this is like one of the top sections you get to, and I think this just kind of like illustrates what it's like. It is busy, but it's not too busy. Everyone kind of waits in line for a photo. You wait in queue for a queue. That's a hell of a journey. But as you can see, there's kind of like main sections where you want photos. And yeah, you just obviously have to have a few minerals about you to just keep going and being like, oh no, I'm at the front. But it's one of them. If you want the photos, if you follow this channel, you probably want the JPEGs, then you're going to want to wait around for a little bit longer to make sure you get them. But as you can see, it is absolutely Sergio at different sections here. I'm going to give you a little view of the old city, if we can get to the front here. But yeah, just absolute ruthless scenery. For me, a little bit of sun peeking, teasing, coming through the clouds, coming through the mountains, which is absolutely beautiful upon itself. And then, yeah, here you have the big fella. Wonder of the world, number 5 for G-dubs. Silly behaviour. A few little facts. Just a few little things, just to drench and drizzle you in them. So you can only see 40% of what the Incas built here. 60% is actually under the mountain or in the mountain. It's not really for structural stuff. It's to do with irrigation and water. So obviously we're in a big cloud, like rainforest type thing. So it rains a hell of a lot here. So they needed to make sure they had the right irrigation to make sure the city doesn't flood. But in the same instance, they wanted to make sure there's relevant water for the people. So there's like 17 different aqueducts, wells within the city. Obviously, number 1 for the Big Donny himself. Ruthless scenery, ruthless views, and a little bit of history, baby. You know what we do on this channel. We're about a little bit of history, a little bit of culture, but we're about those JPEGs. We're about those vibes. This is what you want to be getting in, drinking into the system. Absolute silly scenes, silly behaviour. The cloud slowly but surely getting out of the old frame, but it just adds a little bit of mystery to the environment. Unbelievable scenery. So you're going to be on Route 2, and then you drop down. There's a few little sections where you can get some really good photos, but for me and Em, we both just agreed. What do you think, Em? Best viewpoint?
100%. And like, even I think we're about to go right into the mixer.
Yeah, Exactly. Emma's been listening to me talk on YouTube too long. She's talking about getting in the mixer. But yeah, this is the best section. All the top ones are kind of really, really busy with people. It is kind of busy as you kind of walk and meander down this little section here, but a lot more space. As you can see, the king has just been doing a full photo shoot, the things you love to see. And then, yeah, you drop down into the city itself. But yeah, ruthless scenes, ruthless JPEGs. And yeah, whew, wonder of the world, baby. Drink it in. Meandering, getting a few JPEGs in the system, and now time for the main event. Depends what you call the main event. For me, it's the JPEGs, but a little bit of history, a little bit of culture, and getting into the city, the Citadel. It is absolutely majestic. One of the things I thought was most impressive is that, doing a little bit of research, you know, so I can just drop the facts in on you guys. They didn't use any mortar to put the bricks together. They're just so tightly packed, and they actually made it, they knew that because they built it on two fault lines, and then the Pacific Ring of Fire, that it needs to be able to withstand earthquakes, which is absolutely ridiculous behaviour. I'm going to run past these people real quick. Lo siento. That's the extent of my Spanish. Just learn sorry, hello, and can I have 2 beers? Dos cerveza, por favor. But yeah, basically they knew it was obviously a super seismic area due to all, the volcanic activity, all the tectonic plates moving past each other. So yeah, they had to make all the bricks really, really tightly packed. And it is the only Inca relic that didn't get destroyed by the Spanish because it was located deep in the mountains, so they actually didn't find it. So there's many rumours on what it is, what it was, why did they build it. One of them being that it was rumoured to be built for a royal retreat by Pacuchechi. Definitely not how you pronounce the bloke's name, but of course I'll overlay it on the screen now for you. But yeah, it's just a ridiculous setting. I'd say the walk up to the top viewpoint up here is a good 30 minutes maybe. You're meandering, there's a lot of crowds and stuff like that, and then obviously as you kind of get up to the top, you're waiting for your photos. It depends how much you want the JPEGs. That's the upper terrace route up there. Route number 2, you just drop down here, and then yeah, you're meandering through the city, drinking it all in, as with the king up here. Lots of information online about who founded it. Hiram Bingham was long thought to, have founded the city back in 1911, if my memory serves me well. But I read some other stuff online, to be fair, saying that people reckon there was a farmer nearby who found it, a guy called Augustine Lizarraga. Again, I'll just overlay it now so you don't have to worry about my pronunciation. Back in 1902, and there's even some French manuscripts. Again, this is how much detail and research I do for you guys, and of course myself as well. The kind of named Machu Picchu, it was spelt differently, but yeah, obviously, like, well, if you search it online, it's like the exact same pronunciation. But yeah, silly views, silly JPEGs, it's just ruthless feels. The sun is coming out for us, things you love to see, and I do enjoy that, where there's a little bit of like history, and I also like when things are like a good system and things are built well, and there's a little bit of like ingenuity to it. Yeah, all adds to it. Absolutely ridiculous behaviour. Here is an absolute joke, as you can see how high up you are in the mountains. Cloud cover, different gravy, and then a little bit more info, a little bit more factual stuff for you. The first section where you kind of walk up and you see all the terracing, that's one half of the city, or kind of like the one section which they used to create the agricultural side of things, with the maize, with the crops, with the beans, to fuel up the people who are getting high up into the mountains. And then as you kind of meander through all the kind of buildings, this is the other half, which is kind of like the living sector, which obviously has all like the temples, places people used to live. There are apparently, rumour on the circuit, 200 different homes. Used to home between 4 and 5 people, so you're looking at about 1,000 people could be here at one time. But for me, the views are a joke, but this is what I loved as well. The only foreigners they allowed to live in Machu Picchu is, of course, the furry fellas. It's the llamas. Hopefully you can see them in the middle of the screen now. But yeah, they leave them in here to just cut all the grass for them, saving some money. Things you absolutely love to see. But yeah, as you kind of walk down, the views are just a joke. The history is just drenching into the old bones. And yeah, it's just an unbelievable little spot. I think as soon as you get off that main section at the top, of course, that's the best place for photos. And as Em said, you can't complain about it being too touristy if you are a tourist like myself and MR, but it is super busy. As soon as you start walking through here, it all opens up and you have, yeah, absolutely loads of space. I do think it would make a huge difference on the weather. Like, we've had a dry morning, obviously a lot of cloud cover, and then now we've got some sun peeking through. So there's only so much work you can do on Instagram. Do you know what I mean? Increasing the saturation and brightness and all that good stuff. But yeah, for me, if you're up here and you're getting absolutely drowned, yeah, I don't think it would be as enjoyable. And as you can kind of see there, middle of the shot now, all the terracing, all the mountains in the backdrop, absolute phenomenal scenery. And again, on that kind of weather and wetness, I would probably give yourself 2 days. Me and Em came yesterday. Again, one just for the amount of travel that you need to do in queuing, but also it gives you like 2 bites at the old proverbial apple, if I can get my words out. But yeah, ridiculous behaviour. Absolutely love the ancient civilization, lost civilization type stuff. If anyone's watched Graham Hancock on the Joe Rogan show, you know what I'm talking about. Em has got little facts for us we just find out now. Talk to us about what's this place for here.
This is where they used to come and play all their music. And if I try and do a little... Oh, wait.
Yeah. I'll have to hold the mic.
Yeah. Do you hear that echo? That's crazy.
Yeah, love a little bit of that. And this is what I think, like, we think, oh yeah, 600, 700, 800 years ago, and then you kind of look at like the knowledge and information people had, like how would you build stuff with like acoustics like that, all the tightly packed rocks, all the terracing for like the agricultural side of things. For me, it's a flair environment, not just talking about the king. However, do you know what I mean, it just adds to it all as well.
Up in the mountains, it's just like, I haven't got a fact for you, but it's just like crazy how built up it is, and like the terrace, yeah, insane.
Yeah, there's just one little bit in the middle here. I don't know what they're doing. Must be doing some like excavating or something. But yeah, you just have a little tent, ruining the JPEGs. But you know, I'm sure they're doing things far better work than what I do on my Instagram for about my 4 likes. But yeah, silly behaviour. And yeah, the knowledge people must have had. What is it, 700 years ago? 600 if I can do a bit of math. Ridiculous scenes. As you drop down the far side, you start meandering back. You get in the mixer with a few of the old Inca houses. Ridiculous views. For me, the mountains, the clouds, the scenery, the views are as magical as the city itself. There's loads of little sections here where you can get photos, get a little bit of history, and then if you can see in the like going down the mountain now like a little serpent, that is the route up here on the bus. So if you are a little bit scared of the old heights, try and sit as close to the middle as possible, because it is a little bit worrying. Shady, if you're watching, I'll tell you what, this could be an interesting one for you. The ladder of Couture all over again. But yeah, the city that keeps on giving, the sun's out, silly scenes, the king surveying the kingdom. You probably can't see on top of the mountain in the middle of the screen now. There's all kind of there's a few houses and stuff up there, so I imagine that is the main man's house. The king surveying the kingdom from down below, but the palace up top bins. As you first start meandering up the mountain, it is a little bit busy. Obviously plenty of time to get photos, JPEGs, not too crazy. But you know what I mean, it's like anyway, it's so much nicer when you're just at one with nature. You're on your own, you're in the mixer, you're in the mountains. And you kind of further you go through this, because they only let 4,000 people here per day, they do really stagger the amount of people. But this is actually a way better view. So on like the back end of route number 2, you can see in the foreground all the kind of houses, a few of the old churches where all the big fellas used to live. We've got the king again surveying the kingdom. This side you've got absolutely just ridiculous scenery. It's absolutely sensational, very much giving me Switzerland on steroids vibes. It's ridiculous scenery. And then again, a better example of the terracing right in the middle of the screen now. This is the agricultural sector, if I can even get my words out, baby. Sector, where they used to grow all the crops and stuff like that, because you do not want to have to keep dragging stuff up and down the mountains. So yeah, silly information on the irrigation stuff, making sure the crops have the right water, and just ridiculous scenery. We're going to check back in with see what our thoughts are now. Now you've had a little meander, a little walk. What are your thoughts? What's your favourite?
Obviously this is breathtaking, amazing, but also so is this. I love this area. It's amazing. Yeah.
What's your highlight?
I think this view. Well, no, everything. Everything. Walking around, it's like it's hard to believe that people came and they lived here and did all this. And, yeah.
Yeah, that is it. We've been talking about walking and staying at altitude for a few days. Living up here must be absolutely unbelievable for the old VO2 max. But I said it once, say it again. The scenery, the backdrop, the mountains are as absolutely majestic as the old city itself. Outro time, baby. Should you come here, absolutely scintillating, sensual, sexual views. It's absolutely unbelievable. For me, there's two sections of the trip. There's the first part, which I'd say is for more focused people who like photos, JPEGs. If you're following this channel, I imagine you are one of those people. So you want to do at least route 2 or 3. So that gives you the terrace view, looking down over Machu Picchu, and the ruthless JPEGs that are already live on the old Instagram. If you want a little bit more of a quieter experience, if you want into your history, your archaeology, and really getting into the city, you want to do route number 3. And if you want a little combination, a little bit of both, like myself and Em did, do route number 2. That gives you the top-down view, the great photos, the great JPEGs, and you're in the city, in the mixer, getting that history, getting that feel, and it's unbelievable. For me, I love my photos, so as I said before, I can't complain about the first part being too touristy, but it is very, very busy. Everyone's very civilized, waiting for their photos, but the second section is super, super enjoyable. You've got the beautiful backdrop, the mountains, the mist, the clouds. We've got an unbelievable day, obviously with the sun, and then for me, £44 is an absolute steal. Unbelievable value, would highly recommend. If there's one slight negative, but again, to get to a remote place like this of such beauty, you need to put up with the journey, getting to Cusco, getting the bus, getting the train, and then obviously queuing up to get another bus to get up here. So yeah, the journey is a little bit interesting, but again, that is the price you have to pay for ridiculous scenery. So hopefully that's give you a good insight of how majestic, unbelievable this landscape is. If you do have any questions, bang it in the comments down below. As I said, I respond to every single message. We're going back to Cusco, exploring. We've got the Rainbow Mountains in the diary, up to Lima, and then into Ecuador. So the content is coming thick and fast. Hit that subscribe button. And remember, baby, the chef is always cooking. Let's get it.